The glass doors of Terminal 7 whispered open as a quiet man stepped inside, carrying nothing but a satchel and an old boarding pass. His name was Zale. No one looked twice. Dressed in scuffed boots, faded jeans, and a leather jacket dulled by years, he blended into the backdrop like airport tile. A maintenance ID dangled from his belt, half tucked, half forgotten. Travelers bustled past, eyes fixed on their screens, voices echoing through the cavernous hall. Neon signs blinked with delays and upgrades. Somewhere, a child cried. Near gate 43, the first-class counter stood polished and pristine, manned by 2 employees too caffeinated to hide their boredom. Zale walked toward them, steady, silent. Mira spotted him first. Blonde bun, tight blazer, eyes that sliced. She didn't smile. Her gaze skimmed his jacket, landed on the badge clipped to his belt. Her mouth twitched with condescension before she turned to her co-worker, Jax, and said without lowering her voice, "Either he's very lost, or just bold today." Jax chuckled awkwardly, eyes darting back to his monitor. He looked like someone still clinging to his training manual. Zale reached the counter and offered the boarding pass. "Good morning," he said, voice calm but clear. Mira raised an eyebrow, didn't take the paper. "This line's for first-class check-in. You might be looking for the employee gate, sir." "I'm not mistaken," Zale replied. "This is where I need to be." Her lips parted in mock patience. "Sir, this line is for ticketed elite travelers, not crew support, and definitely not janitorial staff." Jax bit his lip. Even he shifted uncomfortably. Zale didn't flinch. "This is my flight. I'm here for a seat change. I was told the counter could help." Mira finally snatched the paper, looked at it briefly, then let out a short laugh. "Sir, this seat belongs to Flight 192A, which is overbooked in economy. Unless you're a priority guest or military, you're not going to get a front-row seat." He stayed silent. Mira tapped the counter, impatient. "I can't hold this line. Please return to your assigned gate. Or security might ask you to." Passengers. Behind Zale had slowed down. A woman dragging a purple suitcase paused near the stanchions. A teenage girl with earbuds glanced up, then back down. Zale reached into his satchel and pulled out a small leather case. From inside, he withdrew a silver badge, engraved, official, clean. He placed it gently on the counter between them. Mira stared, blinked once, then snorted. "Cute. Got that from the Aviation Museum gift shop?" He didn't answer. A soft cough came from the trainee desk a few feet away. A young woman, sharp-eyed, quietly attentive, watched from behind her screen. Her name tag read Kaya. She had noticed the exchange from the beginning. Her fingers hovered over her keyboard, hesitating. Zale looked Mira in the eye. "I'd like to speak with your captain, or whoever's in charge of Flight 192A. Jax looked at Mira. He might be wasting everyone's time," she snapped. "The captain isn't here to chat with maintenance. He's prepping for a full transatlantic departure." Zale didn't argue. Behind him, the line thinned. People weren't leaving. They were watching. Kaya leaned closer to her tablet. She tapped out a quick message through the internal comm system. One word. Unusual. Mira folded her arms. "Look, you're not in trouble, sir. But let's not pretend we don't both know this badge is symbolic at best." Zale picked it up, wiped it once with a cloth tucked in his pocket, and slipped it back into the case without a word. Someone whispered nearby, "Why's she so rude?" Another murmured, "He hasn't done anything." Zale turned slightly, his eyes sweeping across the polished floor, the sterile lights, the watchful faces. His expression never changed. "I won't take more of your time," he said, voice steady as before. "But I won't leave either. Not yet." Mira leaned in, voice just above a whisper. "I've worked this gate for 3 years. I've seen every excuse. You're not special." From across the counter, Kaya suddenly stood. "Mira," she said, trying to keep her tone even. "I think you should take a second look." Mira rolled her eyes. "Please, don't get starry-eyed because someone looks mysterious." Kaya didn't argue. She glanced toward the boarding door and pressed the call button. Silence lingered as the screen blinked. Passengers whispered. The air changed, just slightly, and at the end of the terminal, beyond the gate window, a door swung open. Footsteps echoed from the corridor beyond the glass as a man in a crisp white uniform entered the gate area. He moved with intention, shoulders square beneath gold-stitched epaulets, silver wings gleaming above his heart. A navy cap sat angled over salt and pepper. Hair. Captain Reese scanned the space without hesitation. His eyes, cool and focused, drifted over the waiting passengers, across the kiosk, then landed on Zale. The change in his expression was instant. Respect softened his features. He stepped forward, weaving through the velvet ropes, ignoring the curious glances now blooming across the crowd. Zale turned slightly. Reese stopped in front of him. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then, with precision and no hesitation, Captain Reese brought his hand to his brow and saluted. Mira stared. Jax's mouth parted, but didn't form words. Kaya froze with her stylus midair. "Sir," Reese said, voice carrying through the terminal, "had I known you'd be here today, I'd have come sooner." Zale gave a small nod. "I came to observe, not interrupt." "You never interrupt, sir." Reese turned to face the counter, his voice growing firmer. "This man is not here by mistake." Mira stumbled backward a step. Her face paled beneath her makeup. Reese continued, tone clipped and deliberate. "For anyone unaware, you are looking at the reason half this airline's captains can fly a commercial jet." The room stilled. Passengers leaned in. A man in a business suit lowered his phone. A toddler climbing a chair stopped and stared. Mira swallowed hard. "He said he wanted an upgrade. I didn't know." "You didn't care," Reese interrupted, eyes narrowing. "That's the difference." Zale said nothing. He looked straight ahead, posture unmoved, as if this entire moment was routine. Jax cleared his throat, voice trembling. "Wait, Zale? Are you the same Zale who—" "Yes," Reese answered, before he could finish. "That's Commander Zale Noren, retired Air Command. Now senior advisor to our international training program. He's the reason I passed my final flight evaluation." Mira backed away slowly, her hands twitching. "I was just doing my job." He looked. Zale's voice cut through. "Unimportant?" She blinked, mouth still open. "I didn't say that. You didn't need to." Gasps fluttered through the surrounding travelers like ripples in glass. A woman near the window clutched her scarf tighter. A teenager pulled off his headphones. Kaya stepped forward. "I thought something felt off. His posture, the way he carried himself." Reese nodded. "He's a man who's led more hours in the sky than most of us will ever see." "And you spoke to him like a lost baggage claim," Mira stammered. "No. One told us he was coming." Zale shook his head gently. "Because that's the point." The silence after that was thick. Guilt, awareness, and realization swirling in equal measure. He turned toward the onlookers. "It matters how people are treated when you believe they offer nothing in return." The statement hung in the air. No one moved. No one dared break the gravity of the moment. Reese stepped aside, extending an arm. "We've arranged accommodations, sir. The cockpit's first officer slot is open, as requested." Zale hesitated, then looked at Kaya. "What's your name?" "Kaya," she answered, unsure if she should step closer. "You noticed. You spoke up." She nodded once, eyes wide. "That matters more than you know." Behind them, a sleek man in a blazer rushed forward, eyes wide. His badge identified him as Wren, the gate operations manager. "Captain Reese, what's going on? Is there an issue?" Reese didn't answer. Zale responded instead. "No issue. Just clarity." Wren looked from Reese to Mira, then at the growing crowd. "We'll handle this." Zale stepped forward now, slow but purposeful. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. When someone approaches your counter, regardless of uniform, age, or accent, you are representing not just an airline, but a culture, one that either respects its passengers or pretends to. Mira trembled. Her pride peeled back, replaced by the sharp edge of realization. "I didn't mean to offend," she offered weakly. "You didn't try not to," Zale replied. Behind the counter, Jax lowered his gaze. Reese placed a gentle hand on Zale's shoulder. "Would you prefer to board now, or speak with the terminal director first?" Zale glanced at his watch. "Let them come to me. I've already seen enough." Kaya looked around, stunned by how quickly the mood shifted. Just minutes ago, this quiet man was mocked for standing at the wrong counter. Now he held the room without lifting a finger. The janitor who wasn't. The trainer of pilots. The standard they didn't know they were being measured against. Passengers stepped aside as Zale moved toward the gate. As he passed the child with the purple suitcase, she gave him a small wave. He returned it with the faintest smile. The automatic doors opened. Sunlight caught the edge of his badge still tucked in the satchel. Behind him, no one said a word. But everyone stood straighter. Everyone had seen what respect looked like after it had been ignored. And no one would forget the lesson walking silently up the jet bridge. The conference room smelled faintly of recycled air and industrial carpet. Frosted windows blurred the view of the runway outside, where aircraft lined up like sleeping giants. Inside, tension crept beneath every flicker of the fluorescent lights. Zale sat alone at the long table. He didn't adjust his posture or fidget with the glass of water placed before him. He waited, still, composed, unmoved. The door opened. Terminal Director Cale entered, tall and sharp-suited, flanked by two HR leads, and Mira, whose steps were hesitant, shoulders hunched. Her flawless makeup now looked worn, her confidence cracked beneath silence. Cale nodded respectfully at Zale, though his own unease lingered behind his eyes. "I appreciate your patience, Commander Noren," he began, voice careful, measured. "Word reached us late. If we had known—" Zale raised one hand, calm but firm. "Stop there." Cale froze. "This isn't about what you knew. It's about what you believed." Mira shifted beside him, lips parted as if to defend herself, then thought better of it. Zale's gaze didn't waver. "Your staff didn't fail because they lacked information. They failed because they made assumptions. Quick ones, lazy ones, dangerous ones." Cale nodded slowly, shame coloring his face. "We're reviewing everything, sir. Full internal review, followed by cultural training." "That won't fix a mindset," Zale replied. "But it might prevent repetition." HR. Leader Dina cleared her throat. "Would you like to file a formal complaint regarding Ms. Rellen's conduct?" Mira stiffened, Her eyes darted toward Zale. He didn't look at her. "I'm not here for punishments," he said. "I'm here for clarity." Mira stepped forward, voice cracking. "I didn't mean to insult you. I just assumed—" "That I wasn't worth your courtesy," Zale said quietly. "You looked at me and saw someone beneath your standards, not because of anything I did, but because of who I resembled in your mind." Her mouth opened, but the words never came. "From the uniform wasn't the problem," he continued. "Neither were the boots or the wrinkles on my jacket. The problem was your eyes." Silence stretched. Zale turned to Cale. "I've trained pilots in 3 continents. I've watched recruits become leaders, and leaders forget how to listen. Respect isn't gifted, it's revealed. And you've got a team that doesn't know how to recognize it unless it wears a badge they already believe in." Dina tapped her notes, but didn't speak. Zale looked toward Mira, finally. "You thought you were guarding standards. What you were guarding was a barrier, one that keeps dignity behind a check-in screen." Mira's throat bobbed. "I was wrong." He nodded once. "That's not the part that matters." She blinked, confused. "It's whether you're different tomorrow." No one filled the pause that followed. It didn't need filling. Cale stepped forward, extending a sealed folder. "This contains our written apology, along with the memo, confirming a temporary leave for Ms. Rellan while we assess next steps." Zale took the envelope without opening it. "Put your focus on those who watched. They'll be the ones who remember what kind of place this is." Cale nodded. "Understood." Zale rose from his seat, steady and quiet. "Let me leave you with one thing," he said. "The most important part of flight training isn't takeoff, it's awareness. Of everything. Every voice. Every system. Every potential failure. Most mistakes in the air happen because someone stops listening. Don't let this terminal make the same error." No one spoke as he walked out. The hallway outside was still. No announcement blared. No intercom called his name. But something had changed in the air. Kaya waited by the entrance to the terminal lounge. She straightened when she saw him approach. "Sir," she said gently, "I didn't know who you were, either." Zale paused. "But you listened." She nodded. "You didn't need my name to hear what was wrong." Kaya looked down, then back up. "I want to learn more. Not just about planes, about people." Zale smiled faintly. "Then you'll go far." He handed her the envelope. "You give this to the team. Let them know I've moved on. They'll carry what matters." Kaya clutched it with both hands, as though it weighed more than paper. Zale stepped through the security gate without a word. The officer at the post stood taller as he passed, though Zale hadn't even looked his way. At the end of the terminal, near the window, Captain Reese waited beside the boarding ramp. "She understand?" Reese asked. Zale nodded once. Eventually, Reese exhaled. "You sure you don't want to speak to the press?" "I don't need headlines," Zale said, eyes steady. "I need echoes." Reese offered his hand. Zale shook it firmly. "I'll tell the crew what happened," the captain said. "They already know," Zale replied, and with that he stepped onto the jet bridge, leaving silence behind that said more than any loud apology ever could. The airport returned to its routine, but the atmosphere remained altered. Conversations softened. Movements slowed. The space between people felt heavier, like something invisible had passed through and chosen to stay. At the first-class counter, Mira's absence felt loud. Her workstation sat untouched, headset unplugged, nameplate removed. Jack stood behind the screen, organizing files he had already sorted once before, avoiding eye contact with anyone lingering nearby. Passengers still came forward, boarding passes in hand, but something unspoken hovered in the room. A pause before each interaction, a moment to consider what had just happened. Kaya returned from the conference room holding the sealed apology envelope. She placed it gently on the desk, then looked up and met Jax's eyes. He gave a small nod, his earlier smirk nowhere to be. Found, down the concourse, Clarence, the night shift janitor, arrived early. Weathered hands tucked gloves into his belt loop, and his slow walk carried familiarity. As he passed Gate 43, he noticed the hush in the air, the uncertain looks on the crew's faces. He asked no questions. He just paused near the check-in desk and listened. "Something happen here?" he murmured. Kaya looked at him thoughtfully. "Yeah, someone saw everything clearly and didn't say much, but he didn't have to." Clarence tapped his mop once against the tile. That kind of silence always speaks the loudest. Inside the aircraft, Zale took his seat near the front. Not in the cockpit, not in the first row, just a window seat he'd quietly requested. The clouds outside drifted lazily past the glass, indifferent to the noise humans made below. Flight attendants moved through the aisles with newfound alertness, their smiles gentler, their greetings more deliberate. One of them paused near him and leaned down. "Thank you," she whispered, though he hadn't spoken to her all day. Zale gave a polite nod, but kept his eyes on the runway. Back in the lounge, Cale addressed the gathered terminal staff. Eduardo, the security supervisor, stood nearby, arms folded but alert. Jax, Kaya, and others formed a loose circle. "We don't often realize when a test is happening," Cale began. "We assume inspections come with schedules, checklists, warning signs. Today proved otherwise." No one interrupted. Cale continued, voice lower now. "He didn't walk in with a badge, a camera, or a clipboard. He walked in like anyone else. That's what made this real." Eduardo spoke up for the first time. "He's been in this facility before, quiet, observing, never once asked for recognition." Cale nodded. "And he saw more than we did, because he wasn't looking for flaws in systems. He was watching how we treat people." Kaya looked around at the others. "That's what stayed with me. How he never raised his voice, but everything still shifted." "Some people shout to be heard," Eduardo added. "Others speak once, and everyone listens because it means something." Outside, the plane began to taxi. Inside the terminal, the teenager from earlier, who'd watched the entire encounter, returned with his father. He pointed toward the counter. "Dad, that's the gate," he said. "That's where the guy with the badge stood." His father looked at him. "What did he do?" The boy thought for a moment. "He didn't do much, but he made them all act better." Clarence, still cleaning near the corner, heard those words. He smiled slightly without turning. In the break room, Mira's locker had already been emptied. A slip of paper remained taped inside. Some half-forgotten quote about professionalism, now faded from time and irony. Kaya opened her tablet and began drafting a message. Not for corporate, not for policy change, just a simple note addressed to herself. "Judge slower, listen sooner. Power doesn't always look like it should." She saved it without fanfare. Outside, sunlight poured across the tarmac. The jet, carrying Zale, lifted gently from the ground, its wings carving through the sky with practiced ease. From his seat, he glanced down once, seeing the terminal shrink beneath him, a building filled with people now thinking just a little harder than they were yesterday. Reese sat in the cockpit, glancing back through the cabin window, knowing who rode behind him. He didn't speak. He simply flew smoother, crisper, like every adjustment mattered more. Back on the ground, Cale remained in the conference room long after the team had gone. He opened the apology letter Zale left behind. It was blank. At the bottom, only one line was written in perfect cursive. True apologies are not sent. They are seen. Cale folded the paper carefully, placed it in his drawer, and closed it without locking. Nothing in the terminal looked different, but everyone moved like something had changed, because it had.